We're just going to give everybody a couple more minutes here. We've had more people register than there are in the meeting yet, so we'll get started at about 1:02. All right. I think we'll get started here. Dave, if you want to get us started today.
Sure, sounds good. So thanks everyone for joining today, especially after a long weekend. So today's topic, we're going to talk about using libraries in Microsoft 365 to get the right assets in front of your team. So basically focusing on how you can leverage the Microsoft 365 platform to get more consistency around some of the branding and communications that you may have, especially for the stuff that's going externally out there. So we'll go ahead and walk through some of the examples on that one and kind of show you what's going on. So I am Dave Kleist. I am our Director of Operations here at BlueNet, and joining me today is Zach Welding, who is our Senior Architect and Developer in the Microsoft 365 family. Thank you for joining us today. And so to kind of go through what we'll talk about, obviously we're in the introduction right now, and then we are going to talk about some of the challenges in maintaining a consistent brand, what this is actually solving. So what we're going to show you here, what kind of things is it trying to clear up? Then we'll talk about how you can address that. What are the three things that we'll kind of outline today, show you some examples, and then we'll have a summary at the end. We do have the Q&A active, so if you do have a question, go ahead and pop that into the chat, and we'll try and address that either as we go along, or we'll pick it up at the end in the Q&A period. So with that, what are the challenges in working with Microsoft 365, especially around marketing and communication? So one of the challenges that you'll see, especially if you do a lot with presentations, PowerPoint, things like that, is how do you actually create like a master template or PowerPoint, something that's going to have that consistency that everybody can use when they're creating something to share, like as part of the sales effort or marketing and things like that. You know, over time, a lot of times what you'll see with companies is that, you know, they'll have a deck and oh, I like this one, I copy it over, and then oh, someone else did a deck, you merge them together. And there's a couple of things that happen with that. One, you have no idea which version you're working with. And two, as you kind of mash these things together, there's a lot of background things that happen with PowerPoint around slide masters. And you can end up in the situation historically where you may have a slide deck that you're working from with Slide Master. You could have like a 2-slide deck that's 200 meg in size because of everything that's buried around behind in the background. The other one that's pretty common in looking at that's a little bit different than, say, a branding or, you know, consistency, things like that, is calculations. So if you think about it, if you're using Excel to gather information in your organization, a good example would be is if you're doing like an expense form where you've got some mileage calculations, or you've got something where you're collecting that. How do I make sure that I'm not getting bad data in there because someone took the timesheet that they had from last week and copied it to this week, changed a couple of dates, dropped it in, and oh, by the way, they worked an extra 3 days than weren't supposed to be on the timesheet. So that's another scenario that this will address. And then also, when you're looking at like working with documents, working in SharePoint, how do you make sure that like they're using the right logo, using the right photos, things that have been approved, things that have been seen, especially if you're got a marketing communications department? How do you make sure that what they're working with is what you actually want out there in the field, and not just something they sort of like Googled up or found in Giphy and then dropped it into the PowerPoint? And then lastly, if you've actually gone through the effort to do some branding consisting around fonts and things like that, how do you get that available so that everybody can use that for what they're working with? Don't get into this weird situation of like, well, yeah, I've got to go find, Frank who can show me how to load this in, load the particular font. How do you get that easily in front of everybody in the company so that they can use that company approved font in the communications that they're working with? So first thing we'll talk about is using and leveraging a library for Office 365 templates. So the first part in addressing this is to actually recognize that rather than creating like a blank Word document or a blank PowerPoint presentation that has some of the content that you're looking for, is you want to start leveraging the templates that are available in the Office products. So those are in Excel, they're in Word and PowerPoint, where you can actually create that skeleton that can be used to actually pull the information forward and dropped into your document. So it's got the slides you're looking for. It has the fonts, it has the headings, footings, things like that. The next thing that you want to be able to do is like, well, okay, great. I've got this awesome looking, template. How do I get it to users? You want to be able to actually have that sent out, but not such that anybody can grab a copy, modify it, and then change it. And then you're right back to where you started, which is how many different versions do I have across how many different people? So with this solution, you can have that central access to the documents, but have it read only for most employees to get away from this idea that people are modifying things after they get it. They can certainly customize their own personal deck, but at least from the starting point, they're working from a consistent platform. So what I want to go ahead and show you is a couple of examples of what that actually looks like in being able to use a template. So the first one I'll show you here is in PowerPoint. If we actually go into the new menu, and what you'll see here is when you have this library function set up, you'll now see over here in this particular area, for us it's BlueNet, it's the name of the organization. What you can see here is now a repository that's immediately available in PowerPoint to go ahead and pull up a template to say, this is what I want to work from. So I can then say, click on here. And then now I'm working from a new template or a new PowerPoint deck that's built from that consistent template that was read-only to pull in the different formats that I'm looking at. Sorry, I thought I had the other one up. And then what does that look like in Excel? So here, same idea. You can see you've got your new button over here. You click on new, same organization is listing here. So what's happening is that you'll have a central place to put in your PowerPoints, put in your Word document templates, your Excel templates, all in that BlueNet. But then when you go into the particular product, it's just going to show you the ones that you want to work with. So it'll show you Excel templates in Excel, PowerPoint templates in PowerPoint. So in this particular one, you can go ahead and say, oh, I want to do a new blank expense report. It'll click that. It'll pull it up. It's blank, but it actually has all of the calculations and everything that you would want behind it. So they're working from pre-approved structure that is functional, but it doesn't have somebody's old data in it. So you don't have to have that second part where people are like, oh, I got to remember to delete out last week's entries and put in this week's and things like that. It starts fresh. So that's what it looks like to work with templates as far as in the Office products. And then Word works the same way. You can create a Word document template, and then when you do the new, you can actually have pull-in. So if you have things like you want headers, footers, copyrights, things like that built into there, you can use that in that particular platform. So next, we're going to go ahead and talk about fonts. Zach, you want to, or do you need a demo first?
Nope, I don't need a demo. I got the screenshot here. So it really follows the same concept. For those of you that have custom fonts or and you need to be able to use those within your Office products, rather than having to get those installed, or again, go to a file server and download it and then upload the font and then make sure it works in Word. You could run the risk of somebody grabbing the wrong one, grabbing an outdated one, getting their own. This follows the same idea. Everything is stored in a SharePoint library that certain people have access to deploy these assets out to all of your end users. So as you can see, based on the screenshot there, this example has 2 separate fonts that were uploaded, and it creates a separate category where all of these are stored at the top. So that's going to work anywhere in any Office product where you can change the font. That organization fonts option will be there, whether it's PowerPoint desktop, PowerPoint online. If you're using the app in Teams, it pushes it out everywhere so that everybody has the approved fonts in the same spot. If you want to go to the next slide, again, same concept here, just different type of asset. So for images, for those of you that work in SharePoint, if you guys have an intranet, I've had a lot of times, questions come up, hey, can I get our company logo? Is this image okay to post on our intranet? People end up posting or using images that were outdated because they didn't know what was current, if a building's changed or something. I've seen that happen a lot for some public works types of pages where they used something that was outdated and that building didn't even exist anymore. They had torn it down and rebuilt it. So by using the same concept with the organizational asset library, you can create a separate spot for images. And as you can see down there on that screenshot, anywhere in SharePoint where it asks you for an image, whether it's an image web part or it's a quick link web part, and you need to pick the image for the quick link, you're always going to get that My Organization tab over on the left. And that's hooked up to that organizational asset library where certain people that you guys can decide on have the ability to keep those stock images, internal stock images, up to date. As you can see, there's another stock images option on the left. That's something that Microsoft provides. The idea here is that you've curated your own relevant stock images library that users can use while they're out in SharePoint. So can help reduce time as well. I know for me, when I help build intranets, I spend a lot of time looking around for images that we think might be appropriate or applicable in that certain situation. So from an end user perspective, it speeds things up a lot if your content experts can keep this up to date with all the images that they'll allow to have and want to have on their intranet. That's it for images.
Okay, so this is a little bit shorter presentation than we normally have done, but I think one of the things that we want to highlight as we're opening here up for any questions that someone may have is the really nice part that we've kind of hinted at across the different things is that you can set up a very select small number of people to have update capabilities. Who's allowed to put the font in? Who's allowed to create the template? Who's allowed to maintain the images? But still have that spread and available across the entire organization. So really getting away from that sprawl that we talked about earlier. So a key point in making this work is actually being able to designate, like an administrator or two, saying, these are the people that can actually work with this, do the updates and make that available. What's nice with that process, and we didn't show you this part, but those changes are near immediate. So if I create a new template, say for PowerPoint, and I drop that into the share area, that is going to show up within a minute or two. So again, same thing. I don't have to put it on a file server, email somebody, have them pull it down, work with it. It's there almost right away. So pretty much as fast as you can do a OneDrive sync is how fast that will show up within the Office products once you publish that new template. And so with that, I don't see any questions right now in the Q&A, but if anybody does have a question, please feel free to drop something in. We'll address that while we're on the meeting here.
You want to flip to the next slide too, Dave? We got some stuff on there about getting this set up.
Sure.
Perfect. So if any of this sounds relevant to anybody, feel free to reach out. We can work with you guys to get this set up for you. Like I said, there's different, you don't have to use all of them. It's not an all or none. You can pick whether you just want to use Office templates, you just want to use the images, you want to use fonts, maybe you want to use all three. They can all be set up individually of themselves, and can greatly increase efficiencies across everybody.
Yep. And I think the one thing to highlight too is that once it's set up, the last bullet point, you don't need technical assistance to do this. It's literally just the same as dragging and dropping something into a folder. So once it's set up and working for you and you've got the permission set up for those administrators, those folks can do all of the self-management. So it's not the kind of thing where you've got to contact a technical resource to provide assistance for you. It's something that's real straightforward, really controlled by those permissions.
Yeah, and one extra identifier on that too is when we're saying libraries, we are talking about SharePoint libraries. So this stuff is stored in a SharePoint library that everybody should be familiar with. So all the same things apply: versioning, recycle bin, all of that good stuff. So very easy to update, add new, and remove templates as needed.
So we do have one question in the Q&A. It asked if we had done any setups in a GCC tenant. We have not, but we can certainly do some research to see if there's any restrictions. Oh, have you? Okay.
Yep, it works just fine.
Okay, there you go. Never mind.
Yep, we've done that. All good.
All good. Any other questions at this time? Okay. Well, with that, with any follow-up, if you are interested in hearing more about this or getting some more details, do feel free to reach out to myself or to Zach. Or if you are working with one of our salespeople here at BlueNet, you can certainly reach out to them as well. But go ahead and let us know. It's something we're happy to kind of talk through and show you how that works. And with that, thanks everyone for joining. Have a good rest of the day.
Thanks, guys.